The teams are taking over here in South Florida on a beautiful weekend at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. We are through the elite individuals, and now it is time to have a little fun. The teams of three will be on the floor for the next 2 days in what will be an all-star game environment. But first, let's take a look back on the last 2 days as we crowned champions last night here at Bayfront Park for the elite individuals. And for more on that, let's send it to Talking Elite Fitness's Tommy Marquez.
Hey everyone, Tommy Marquez here, back inside the Tier retail space. Day 2 of Wodapalooza and the elite individual competition is all said and done. That means we have our champions for the individuals in both divisions. But how we got here is an exciting story, to say in the least. Over on the men's division, we opened up the day with a two-parter, a 1-rep max clean and jerk, and then a max handstand hold in the parallettes. And in the clean and jerk, Guy Mayeros and Tudor Magda brought the house down. Guy Mayeros goes 395 for his lift. That's the heaviest clean and jerk we have seen in CrossFit competition history. Tudor Magda, not to be outdone by too much, goes 386, just 9 points shy. But for the overall race, both Ricky Garards and Roman Krennikov tied for their lifts, giving them a little extra cushion over third place Patrick Vellner, who finished 16th in the event. After that, they hit the water with double shot with a splash, and the battle between Ricky and Roman continued to rage on. There was no separating the two. They were going neck and neck the entire way. And in the end, Roman Krennikov was able to notch another 100-point performance, just beating Ricky Garard to the line by a few reps on that jag rope to tighten the race between the two going into the finale. And that finale would be a two-parter, 200 points up for grabs. Miami Meat Market was up first, followed by Dirty Isabel. And picking up where they left off, Roman Krennikov just beats Ricky Garard to the line yet again for a second straight event win. Ricky holding close to Roman as the point spread between them just continued to tighten. And then the finale, Dirty Isabel the entire way. And even though neither of them walked away with the event win, Ricky Garard did just enough, beating Roman Krennikov by 4 spots, and he is your champion for the men. And over on the women's side, Emily Rolfe was your leader coming into the day, but with only 32 points separating 2nd through 10th, basically every spot inside the top 10 was up for grabs. And up first, we had the clean and jerk, the 2 biggest lifts coming from CC Cronin in an earlier heat, putting up 256 pounds. Followed up by Danny Spiegel. There was a question on whether or not she might go for the win, but you know what? She loads up 255. She's content with 2nd, and it was a huge performance for her because your 2 top women, Emma Carey and Emily Rolfe, both finished outside the top 10 overall in the event, with a huge point swing going into the next event. As the women transitioned over to the parallettes, it was a pair of Games rookies and former gymnasts in Elisa Fuliano and Rebecca Fuselier, who had the top 2 times overall. Fuselier would walk away with the event win, and both athletes would break the 120 barrier. Emily Rolfe would have a nice bounce back, rounding out the top 3 in the event, as she would hold on to the overall lead as the athletes transitioned over to Bayside. And as we hit the water with double shot with a splash, it was all Paige Powers. The product of CrossFit Mayhem and CrossFit Games rookie in 2022, controlled it wire to wire. She was going toe-to-toe with Brittany Weiss for just a little bit, but as the workout progressed, she was able to pull away and get a huge result, notching 100 points into the finale. And if there were any questions about how Paige Powers would handle the pressure of being in the lead, she would answer them definitively. And in Miami Meat Market, she would outduel Danny Spiegel for another event win, going back-to-back and solidifying her spot atop the leaderboard heading into Dirty Isabel. Spiegel would finish just behind Powers in 2nd and give a huge boost to her podium hopes to move into 2nd overall going into that finale as well. And to close things out in Dirty Isabel, a little bit of foreshadowing maybe, as your top 3 women overall all finished top 3 in the event. Danny Spiegel absolutely blasted the 30 bar facing burpees, and she was followed close behind by Emma Carey, who started to rally in the back half of the event to give her shot at a podium a big boost in the arm, and 95 points certainly did that. With a big enough lead in her back pocket, Paige Powers was able to cruise through a 3rd place finish Isabel and close the door on her first ever championship run at Wodapalooza and earn that gold medal for the first time as an individual. Your final standings now and your podium finishers in each division. For the men, it's Ricky Garrard, followed by Roman Krennikov and Pat Vellner, rounding out the podium on the men's side. And for the women, Paige Powers sits in first. Congrats to Danny Spiegel, who took 7th, made a huge charge, and Emma Carey rebounds nicely to finish 3rd. Congrats again to all podium finishers and all the athletes that took the floor. The individuals will step aside now because it's the team's turn. 2 more days of competition as the teams of 3 will take center stage here on Saturday at Wodapalooza.
Thanks so much, Tommy. That was an exciting individual competition, and now we turn our attention to the teams. I'm Sean Woodland with the mustachioed Chase Ingram as we get set for a competition that has really been the staple of Wodapalooza, and that's these 3-person teams. And it is a competitive environment, but it's still a very fun one as well.
Absolutely, and the best part about Wodapalooza is that festival vibe. They put that out there as part of their, their creed that they have it here. But the team competition that we've had over the years has been fantastic. But this year, it is something really special.
And one of the reasons why it is special is because it is not conflicting with the individual competition. Athletes who competed as individuals have a chance to compete on a team. Patrick Vellner and Brent Fikowski, they were going head-to-head over the last 2 days. Now they get to team up with Jeffrey Adler. That's going to be a fun team to watch.
Well, you got to think. But it's not necessarily the same feeling, and risk is the price you pay for a chance at opportunity, Sean, when it comes to doubling up here on the weekend.
On the women's side, there are quite a few women who have been spending the last 2 days competing as individuals. Andrea Nisler and Sydney Mikulishin, they win against each other. They are teaming up. Sarah Sigmundsdottir will be on a team as well, and Freya Moosbrugger along with Hannah Carlson and Paige Semenza. And for more on that, let's send it down to the competition floor where Nikki Brazier is standing by.
I had a chance to catch up with several of the athletes that are doing double duty here at Tier Wodapalooza in both the individual division and the team division. And although this was touted as just a 2-day individual competition, many of those athletes are feeling a little more banged up than they thought. They thought originally that the 2-day comp would mean a little bit less volume, but many of the events here have seen both parts A and part B. So it'll be very interesting to see how sore the athletes are going into the team competition and if that affects the overall standings.
Here's the schedule for this first of 2 days of the 3-person team competition. 3 events today. We're going to start out at Flagler. We will then move to Bayside, and then it's back to Flagler this evening for event number 3. Should be a lot of fun as we kick off the 3-person team competition at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. Three is usually a crowd, but in Miami and at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza, it means fun. The 3-person teams take over here at Bayfront Park as we start off in Flagler for what should be a fun and competitive 2-day competition. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. Down there on the competition floor, we're going to kick things off with start fast, finish strong.
We're also starting off with how to get people put in the right positions, not having to switch movements. What I like here is that you're setting everyone else for success. A little trap. If you got handstand push-ups, pistols, and chest bar pull-ups, followed by a little sprint, followed by a tough little row at the end.
And you may have seen those pistols that are sitting right there in the middle of this event. For more on that, let's send it down to Nikki Brazier.
Yeah, these are pistols with a twist. The athlete who's performing the pistols is going to have to do all 42 on one leg in the first round and then repeat in the second round with all those pistols on the same leg. And the reason for that, it might not necessarily be your best pistol athlete. It might need to be one of your more endurance style athletes that does that part.
For success, presented by Trifecta.
And when you think about this speed style, you're going to put athletes in their best movements twice. So clean reps over fast reps. You can be out of control. You can miss the bar with your chest. You might fall off, stumble on the rower. And do not leave the range of motion standards up to the judge. It's got to be fast, but it's got to be clean.
Now, there will be 13 teams out there on the floor. There will be a team in lane 1 and a team in lane 15 from one of the lower divisions here. They had an equipment issue earlier, so the officials at Wodapalooza said, hey, we're going to put you out on the floor with the elites. Have fun.
Bill Murray is always talking about that at the Olympics, so we get a little taste of both.
We are underway, and athlete number 1 will start with the 42 handstand push-ups and then that 420-foot shuttle run. That's 7 laps on the floor. Lane 12, that's Scandi Fling.
Now, do you look at this, Sean? I don't care who tells you, but size matters, especially when it comes to gymnastic tests here in CrossFit competitions. And this team has 2 girls that are 5'2", 1 at 5'5". And when you put their best movements at a shorter stature, they have a massive advantage on the rest of the field.
And right next to them is, in lane 13, Falafel, powered by Puma.
Again, there's an athlete on this team, Marissa Flowers, who's 4'10" and has the world record Fran time of 1 minute and 45 seconds. You tell me size doesn't matter when it comes to an event like this? Absolutely it does.
Well, early on, it's Scandi Fling for 14 reps. 14 total lengths here on the shuttle run. Keep an eye on the scoring hat on the top of our screen. The team that is leading will have their name highlighted in blue, and then the movement that they are on will be listed right below their name, the number of reps that they have completed, and the number of reps that they need to complete will be to the right of their name. 13-minute time cap here for the elite teams.
As we move from the handstand push-ups, we go into 42 single leg squats on one leg the entire time. They have to stay on that same leg for all the reps. This is something we see sometimes during the season, Sean, where things we see at, say, the games level, pistols, handstand push-ups, shuttle runs, for example. This is coming down that we saw at the CrossFit Games as standard last year during that gymnastics ascending skill ladder.
Scandi Fling, they are your leader in lane number 12. They're towards the top of the screen. I believe that's Janie Garrett on her pistols.
We said earlier, 5'2". 5'2", putting yourself in the best movement you have in the bag, because they're only going to do what they're good at. This is a team event, relay style, but everyone's in a good position. Here's what we heard earlier in the earlier teams is that you did 42 pistols as fast as you can on one leg. Good luck using both in a sprint when it comes to this. You can just see the toll those 42 takes on that single leg going to the sprint. Just see them howling. And now what you'll see, though, as you get further into this during the 7 laps, is start to cover a little bit. So managing those first couple of laps on the sprint is a huge element when it comes to this if you're on the pistols leg.
Now, final athlete on the floor for Scandi Fling.
Again, the reps are going to stay at 42. It's 42 handstand with that 420-foot shuttle sprint. They'll have a second round coming up after this, so everyone's going to get a double dose, pulling double duty on the same skill. They're not going to rotate, so they're staying where they started at.
Top 3 teams are Scandi Fling, Yellow Brick Road. elite female team. First of 3 heats here again for the elite female teams. And now on to the shuttle run for the end of the first half of this event.
The shuttle run seems so just part of the event, like one of those middle pieces, but it's actually a huge part. When you put athletes in their best positions, there's not going to be a whole lot of separation with your top athletes. Everyone's pretty much going to go unbroken. You can only go so fast at certain movements. So where can you make up time? Where can you separate yourself from the field? It's something like this, and if you let off the gas at 90% while someone else is going 100, you're going to lose 5 to 10 seconds on a shuttle run alone, and it's going to be near impossible to make up on the gymnastics portion.
Now, Scandi Fling is now on to the second half of this event, and in lane 14, Yellow Brick Road, they are starting to creep up as well. Yellow Brick Road, the threesome of Martha Cook, Gemma Rader, and Evie Hollis.
Yeah, 2 athletes out of the UK, 1 from South Africa, but again, we're looking at size and speed. That's what we're talking about in this event itself, size and speed. 5'2", 5'3" is about the average height for all the athletes on this team. Now, you also have to have the skill. Just being shorter doesn't automatically make you better at gymnastics, but if you are good at gymnastics and have the size to back it up, it's really hard to beat teams at this speed. Oh, no rep, Sean, and that's tough. It's like on the second half, it's a row, so she did 2 laps on the run and just totally forgot that she had to actually get on the rower.
It's a 420-meter row. Well, Yellow Brick Road's athlete got called back to the handstand push-up wall to complete 1 more rep before she will move to the rower.
It's exactly what we're talking about in our ingredients for success. Clean reps versus fast ones. That also involves how you kick up into your handstand. Are your fingers touching the tape? Do you kick down just a little too soon trying to race to the rower off your last handstand push-up? Those little mistakes come into factor when you're trying to go too fast and not thinking about executing.
Oakley Woodhouse is the athlete who is on the rower for Scandi Fling right now, but Conquer's BBC down in lane number 9 are getting set to transition back to.
And this is a 240 meters. It's only, and every 2 minutes only, so it's a full absolute send when you get on the row portion, especially for the athletes doing a push or a pull. Your legs aren't going to be blown up like the second athlete is when it comes to pistols.
That's Brittany Morella now, who is going through the pistols for Conquer's BBC, trying to catch up with Scandi Fling in lane 12 on the right side of your screen.
See a few different techniques in the middle lane in the purple. She's balancing on 1 foot. Her speed can be faster because you're going to take the pause out of it, but you're relying on your balance during a maximum intensity pistol, which is extremely tough to do alone, let alone as fast as you can without putting your foot on the ground.
That's Janny Garrett, who now is doing those pistols on her right leg, and she gets through those. She'll make her way to the rower. Now 420 meters on that, and you can just see how hard it is to just navigate your way over any sort of significant distance after doing that many reps.
And I think what you got to do when you get to the rower, it's arms is great, but it's not going to make you fast. It comes from the leg drive, and to only be able to use basically one side of your body in what blows up your quads, which is the rower itself. So I think this might be the toughest leg to do for the athletes as far as pain than the other ones. You get some nice opposing movement patterns with the upper body in the sprint and the row, but this one, this is the part that hurts.
Oakley Woodhouse and Frederica Franzen on the left. The other two members of Scandi Fling. Now more teams get into the rower after completing their pistols. Milford Monsters, Yellow Brick Road, Conquers, BBC, and Independent are all there. Now Scandi Fling is on to their final athlete. That's Frederica Franzen on the chest to bar pull-ups. She's the only woman on this movement right now. If you look at the right, you see just people hobbling to the rower after those pistols.
It's a unique feeling. I mean, just think about if you did that with air squats. Sprint 42 air squats with both legs and go to a 200 feet or 40-meter row sprint. No thank you, let alone one leg at max intensity.
So the Milford Monsters in lane 10, and then down in lane 12, that's Scandi Fling. Lane 9 on the left side of your screen, pardon me, that's Conquers BBC. Christine Middleton, the athlete for Conquers BBC, is Frederica Franzen. For Scandi Fling is now on the rower. This is the final round for them.
So you can see coming off the rower, this is your second athlete on Scandi Fling, and just trying to get across. That leg never got time to recover. So we've seen just that limping that's happening after that pistol version. And now you get to the rower, right? You get to the rower after doing 42 chest bar pull-ups. Well, let's be honest, 84 chest bar pull-ups, and now the arms are blown up. So I would say if I were putting myself in a position to not hurt as much, maybe the handstand push-ups won and you got that opposing movement pattern. But that final part, like, you just got to dig deep and drive into your legs because your arms aren't going to be there after 2 rounds of 42 chest to bar pull-ups. I think the row is the one portion we talked about. It's like, okay, smaller stature, high fitness level, great for gymnastics. Not so much for rowing. That's the opposing part there.
Frederica Franzen's off the rower, and Scandi Fling is going to take heat 1. 11:35. Make it 11:34.24 now officially for them.
And a team we looked at coming in that should have a decent run at this right off the top. And like we said, play to your strengths. That's exactly what this event is set up for.
Over in lane 10, the Milford Monsters. Or, I'm sorry, that's in lane 9. That's Conquers BBC in the bright yellow.
This is heat number 1. You got 2 more heats coming at you. Until then, Milford 5. Here they come.
It's like Brittany Morella on the rower with Brooke Haas and Christine Middleton.
Now this is a team we'll be looking for on day 2 when that lift comes up with Christine Middleton.
Yellow Brick Road down in lane 14. They are now in. So they will take second place. Yellow Brick Road looked like they got across. We'll have to wait for the official times. We do know that Scandi Fling won the heat. 11:34.24 seconds.
So this is a nice fresh sprint coming off the pistols. Not too bad. Get a little shuttle run. Now this is the part where he's taught about clean runs, not making mistakes in an event where weaknesses aren't apparent. Lost about 5 seconds there. This is the second round of pistols on the row, and just that limp stumble, right? They're not hurt, they're just fatigued, but we thought Scandi would do well coming in. They take a heat win for heat number 1.
Oakley Woodhouse, Frederica Franzen, and Janny Garrett. 11:34.24 seconds. The Milford Monsters will finish in second. This is unofficial, 12:23.33 seconds, followed by Yellow Brick Road and Independent. 4 teams in that heat completing that event inside the time cap. And we are getting set now for the second of 3 heats here, as action continues at the Flagler stage here at Bayfront Park, the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. Glad you're with us, everybody, in Miami, Florida. It's been a bit windy, but the sun is out. And winter in Miami is a lot better than summer in some places.
Deceptively cold today.
It's a little chilly.
A brisk walk to the Bayside today.
I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. Nikki Brazier is down on the competition floor. Event number 1, it's start fast, finish faster. It's a relay style here.
Man, we're putting everybody in their best position. You're either good at handstand push-ups, chest to bar pull-ups, or pistols. So we have more of a relay format than an overall team format. Athlete 1 is going to do 42 reps of handstand push-ups as round 1 and 2. Then you got pistols, chest to bar pull-ups, where we're doing a sprint at the first part, row in the second part, and we are looking for speed and smarts. We got to make sure we don't make any mistakes.
Ingredients for success. You've watched one heat. Does it change at all?
Not at all, and we've seen this actually really be manifested in heat number 1. Clean reps over fast ones, falling over when you're doing a pistol too fast, coming off the wall too early. Don't leave it up to the judge either. There is no room for no reps when it comes to these elite teams.
15 teams will be on the floor. That's lanes 11 through 15. One team we'll be keeping an eye on in lane number 6. Best buds and scuds underdogs.
Well, not unfamiliar athletes here at Wodapalooza, and we talked in the heat 1. Fitness, gymnastic skills, and size. All of them are 5'3" or under and very good athletes.
And they will be working out of lane 6. Allison Scuds, Elena Buds, and Christine Best out of Underdogs Athletics. Another team to keep an eye on. They're down in lane number 9. It's the Go Wad girls.
And you got Emma McQuaid leading the charge there, who won the individual competition here last year. But we're talking about an elite group of athletes. Jacqueline Dahlstrom, obviously we know her from the sandbag clean at the games, and Sigurd, her daughter, is just, this is a group of European athletes that are really gaining a lot of steam this offseason.
And they brought their fans with them.
And they brought the weather. Go back home. It's too cold here.
Stand by. All right, this is heat
11:34.24 seconds is the time to beat for Scandi Fling in heat 1, and Allison Scuds is going to be first out for those handstand push-ups. And
I mean, 42 handstand push-ups to anyone at this level, as far as the elite level of competition, is a drop in the bucket. So where can you mess up? Going too fast, as we said off the beginning. Blurring the lines a little bit too much, trying to race and leaving that up to the judge. We're going to see in these later heats, no one's breaking on any of these. And now it becomes a foot race. Where are people going to separate themselves? Not in 42 reps on the wall, but on 7 laps on a shuttle run and a 240-meter row, absolutely.
7 total laps here on the shuttle run, and then they tag in the next athlete, and it was Allison Scuds in the white top and purple shorts, who was one of the first athletes out on this initial 420-foot shuttle run.
And John, not to, a clean run, no pun intended, is very valuable. We saw in heat 1, you missed the line, you run all the way back for someone to tell you you didn't get to the line. 5 to 10 seconds lost of having to go back and touch again. Clean runs, clean reps, as fast as you can go. Those are the teams that are going to be at the top.
There's Emma McQuaid. No, I'm sorry.
And they're side by side. And that's what we saw that was coming in. We already got a no rep off the bat, so now you're already 3 seconds behind. It's not a difficult thing for these athletes. It's making sure we can go as fast as we can without making a mistake.
It's Team Swedes in lane 7 on the right side of your screen, and that looks like Ella Wunger in the all-black, who also competed as an individual. And then next to her in lane 6, that's Best Buds and Scuds, the team that had the early lead here. And that's Christine Best, I think, on the pistols.
And we're going to start to see athletes that were pulling double duty in the individual competition and now the team competition. And you looked at what happened yesterday. They had 150 heavy wall ball shots as one part of the event. That may come into factor here when it comes to 42 pistols on one leg as fast as you can. Looks like Dahlstrom may have taken the pistol portion for GoWatt girls.
The GoWatt girls in lane 9, they are in front. So Jacqueline Dahlstrom got that no rep, did not touch the line, middle of your screen.
And it's tough because you're trying to go as fast as you can, but 2 feet behind the line with one hand touching behind. It's the standard we saw all year long last year during the game season. The other trick here is what leg do you drive off of? That leg you turn from should not be the leg you just did pistols off, because you're not going to get a good push off the back end there. So dropping that pistol leg at the front and using your fresh leg to push off the back is the way to go.
Here comes Emma McQuaid, who's going to knock out the chest to bar pull-ups for the GoWatt girls. 11:34.24 seconds, the top time that we saw in the first of these 3 heats.
And McQuaid, who said last year's Wodapalooza champion on the individual women, and this is a team of 3 that had no athletes in the individual competition, so they are fresh. They've been watching people compete for the last 2 days, and to put yourself in a position of 42 chest bar pull-ups into a sprint is not a bad way to kick off the competition nerves to start the weekend for these teams.
Kolesnikov team down in lane number 1. They have moved into a battle for second here. The team of Ayzen Zarasova, Kamila Takiyeva, and Xenia Trubaskaya.
And that Kolesnikov team, we saw them make their debut at the games this year. They actually were coached and managed by Tommy Hackenbrook of Underdogs leading in. Dominated the Asia semifinal last year.
The Invictus chicks are in the lead now. They are in lane 3. Emma McQuaid is neck and neck with them right now. The battle for first going on between the GoWatt girls in lane 9 and the Invictus chicks in lane 3. And they are on to the second round.
And just the caliber of athletes we have in just the second heat. We still have one more. But on Invictus, you have Lauren Stallwood, Emily Rethwill, and Allison Weiss, which her sister Brittany was doing in competition early on the individual side, who's also on a team coming up later. And just the amount of athletes that Invictus cranks out, both individual and team, at the volume and quality which they had is amazing.
That's Lauren Stallwood on the handstand push-ups for the Invictus chicks. Down in lane 10 over, down the other end of the floor, that is CrossFit Hype. I think that's Kayla Stefano on the handstand push-ups.
Kayla Stefano cranking out the handstand push-ups, 5'1".
The best buds and scuds underdogs, as Allison Scudds is onto the rower, middle of your screen in the white top. They have moved back into the lead.
We saw in heat 1, coming off the handstand push-ups, you really have nothing up until this point that's going to take away from your ability to row fast. So you just got to, it's only 240. Only 240, a little lax, a little feeling sorry for yourself. You're going to lose some seconds here, and those are going to add up. You just got to bury yourself when it comes to the end. If you look at the face on Allison Scudds, you can tell she's already there.
Scudds teammates waiting for her to cross the finish line. And Elena Buds and Christine Best. Christine Best is the athlete in the headband. She'll be doing the pistols as Scudds gets herself back to make the tag. So Best, Buds, and Scudds now on to the second of 3 movements, second of 3.
Now she's kicking that foot out to help with the balance. It's a little bit of a slower pace. So if you look at Dahlstrom on the right, she's kicking that foot forward, trying to grab the calf, and that's just for balance. that she'll tap that foot down just a little bit. But we actually saw Dahlstrom pull ahead in the first round of this to put their team in a second place position. But now the question is like, okay, what leg should I start at? We all have a good leg, we all have a bad leg. Do I start fresh with the good one or on the bad one? And that's those little nuances in such a fast event for these individual sections.
Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Christine Best. Lane 6 and 7 left side of your screen. That's the fight for first place. Team Explode in lane 8. They're in the top 3 as well, along with Training Culture in lane 5. And now Christine Best onto the rower, 240 meters. And then Elena Buds will run the anchor leg on the chest to bar.
Best has a decent lead on Dahlstrom. And in a 240 row, you're probably looking 40 to 45 seconds on the back half of this round. And it's going to be hard to make up time, like 5 to 6 seconds. You're not going to be able to make that up in 240, but you could dig into that lead a little bit. You can make up 2 seconds here if you can pull ahead just a bit. Dahlstrom a bit taller than Best is. She's got about 3 to 4 inches on her, and that plays well on the row. It's I would say it's one movement in this that plays to the taller, more power dominant athlete.
Now Christine Best is done. And she is going to tag in Elena Buds for the chest to bars here. 11:34.24 seconds. That's the time they're starting to creep up to.
Now at the turn after round 1, they're about 15 seconds ahead of the pace set earlier for the best time to beat. We haven't seen anyone slow down at this point. No one is breaking on handstand push-ups or pistols. So if they can keep that pace they were at, they got a good shot of setting the time to beat. I don't really see a lot of teams. I mean, you get a 15 rep lead on someone in this event. It's gonna be hard to run them down unless they totally blow up on the pull-up bar.
The top 3 teams on the screen: Best, Buds, and Scuds. Bottom left, that's Elena Buds on the chest to bar pull-ups, and then on the right, the Go Wad girls, like Emma McQuaid on the chest to bar pull-ups, and then next to her is Team Explode.
Now one break, that 15 rep lead is all the way down to 6, and now she broke again. A little announcer's curse unless you blow up on the pull-up bar, and here it is, Sean.
Tracy Johnson is the athlete for Team Explode on the chest to bar. Now Emma McQuaid has taken the lead and put the Go Wad girls in front here on the final leg, and here comes Elena Buds to get onto the rower.
And we said this Go Wads team is getting anchored by your 2022 Wodapalooza individual champion with Emma McQuaid getting to the rower at the same time.
Tracy Johnson on the rower for Team Explode. Allison Cuds moving that pad out of the way to give Elena Buds a clear runway back to the start, but we'll see who gets off the rower first. Soul Singer daughter cheering on Emma McQuaid. Hand in the air for Elena Buds. Hand in the air for Emma McQuaid. This could come down to the sprint to the finish. McQuaid is done, she's out, and it's going to be the Go Wad girls who set the new time to beat. They take heat 2 in 11 minutes, 0.92 seconds, and now Elena Buds is across 5 seconds later. Team Explode is in as well. And now the Invictus chicks, they are your leaders on the floor. They are in lane number 3. And you saw their athlete get off the rower, and she is across. Training Culture is in. The Invictus chicks finished up as well. Team Extraordinary and the Kolesnikov team. They are set to be next, and then lane 2. That's Team Savage that just came across.
Oh, that's a pistol row run. And Sean, what we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of teams' times from the previous heat actually fare very well overall so far in the two heats. And when you look at this, it's what we call a specialist event. And I'll double up on that. Not only is it a specialist event, you're doubling it up by putting athletes in their specialty in the specialty event. And so you'll see a lot of times creep up from all over the leaderboard after this first event from the first two heats.
It was the Team Extraordinary that came across in lane 12, not lane 2. Kolesnikov, the Team Swedes, and now the Latina gang, they look to be the next team across the finish line.
Tell me your arms are smoked without telling me your arms are smoked. A switch grip on a 250-meter row is, call that a last-ditch effort.
But it's the Go Wad girls, as Emma McQuaid is able to outduel Elena Buds on the final movement, the chest to bar and then the 420-meter row. And her team has the top time at 11 minutes, 0.92 seconds as we take a look at our rain total body fuel replay.
And you're just looking at the top back end of the run. Those legs will blow up really quick. And it was Buds and Scuds out early, but Jacqueline Dahlstrom on the left pulled their team ahead after the first set of pistols. But then when we get back to the row, there's a bit of a lead change after that second round on the rower. So Scuds gets her team ahead, and they pulled well ahead until we got to the chest to bar pull-ups where Emma McQuaid went unbroken on the 42, and Buds and Scuds broke twice. So it pays to have some talent on the team, and we still got one talented heat left to go, Sean.
Go Wad girls by 5 seconds over Best Buds and Scuds. That was a great battle to watch play out. Team Explode will take third, followed by Training Culture and the Invictus Chicks, as we had about half the field run into that time cap with now one heat remaining. Action continues here on the opening day of team competition at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. We kick things off at the Flagler stage at Bayfront Park. Glad you're with us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Chase Ingram. Nikki Brazier is down on the competition floor. We're gonna start fast and in theory finish faster.
I think this is the group to do it. Athletes put in the best positions they can. 2 rounds of 42 handstand push-ups, pistols, and chest to bar, followed by shuttle runs in round 1 and row in round number 2. Clean reps over fast one. We've seen that unfold for these last 2 heats. Go as fast as you can, but don't make a mistake. At the same time, make sure it's quality, because a no rep is gonna cost you big.
15 more teams out on the field for this third and final heat. And right in the middle of the floor in lane 7, that's one of the teams that people really wanted to watch, and that's the Daughters featuring MOB. More on them in a second. Let's send it down to Nikki Brazier.
Now, you would have been expecting to see Emily Rolfe out here on a team today, but unfortunately she did have to withdraw from the team competition after the individuals went yesterday. Now, Emily and her husband let me know yesterday that she's experiencing a grade 1 tear in her calf. It was something that happened during competition yesterday, and so she needs to heal smart. She knows it's not going to end her season, but she does need to make smart decisions for her body. So yesterday she elected not to finish the double unders at Bayside. Just like today, she's electing not to participate in the team competition.
It's going to be Sarah Sigmundsdottir, Victoria Campos in for Emily Rolfe, and Caitlin Van Zyl.
All athletes that did the individual competition over the last 2 days, so not exactly fresh, but the teams we have been waiting for since they've been announced. You have the Daughters with MOB, Mallory O'Brien, 2 previous champions with what may be the heir apparent.
And then down in lane 8, Team BPN right next to them.
And this is the matchup we've been wanting to see since it got announced, and the fact that they're in side by side to kick the weekend off. I mean, you talked about excitement. Fireworks on a Saturday morning.
And we are underway. It's going to be Annie Thorisdottir who's going to start things off for her team, and Gabby McGowan for VPN.
And he's got to be careful that, again, speed versus range of motion. You got to have a little bit of both. He's getting a little short on the lockout, and that's when you start to play the game of, is it going to get called or not? And I said earlier, we put that in the ingredients, is just don't leave it up for the judge. And I tell you what, when you get someone who has great handstand push-ups, it's just an absolute pleasure to watch. But if teams are going to separate themselves, it's coming down to these portions. Yes, you got to be great on the gymnastics, but you are. You're put in the best position to succeed. But these sprints are not to be overlooked of how important they are to gain time on other teams.
The French girls in lane 10 in the light blue pants and black top. They are your early leaders here. And now teams starting to send their second athletes out onto the floor. In lane 9, the AKA Humble Killers.
I tell you what, Sean, the kick out and toe tap looks to be possibly a little bit faster of a cycle speed just because of balance. You're taking the element of slowing down to not fall off by putting your toe back on the ground. In putting it back allows that foot to swing forward, and you get that little pendulum balance as you're doing a pistol through the middle of it.
That's Ariel Lowen on the left for the AKA Humble Killers. Then next to them in lane 10, the French girls.
Now the fun part, well, for us, because we get to watch them do this, is how the run unfolds after doing 42 fast pistols.
Well, down in lane 5, the girls now.
As she looks out,
taking the lead.
She did the pistols on her left leg, and so if she drops the back foot, see how slow that turnaround is, but she'll put the right one there. She's much quicker dropping that right leg back to push off, right? That back foot is your driver, right? That inside foot is your balance piece. You want to put your strongest leg on the outside to have a quicker turn off or shoot off when it comes to these turnarounds.
That's Fee Sagafi. 7 total laps they need to complete on this shuttle run. And back, down and back, that's 1. Let's all keep that in mind for the future.
Laps, laps, not lengths.
Christine Kohlenbrander is now on the chest bar pull-ups for the girls towards the bottom of your screen in the black top and purple shorts. They're your leaders ahead of the Humble Killers. That's a team of Alex Gazan, Carrie Pierce, and Ariel Lowen.
Yeah, Brooke Wells on there in the light blue top and white shorts. I think she was second to the rig behind Kristen Kohlenbrander, who's just below her. We just saw Sydney Wells compete the last 2 days for individual, as it's Brooke's turn on the team as Kohlenbrander went unbroken on the 42, and we saw if you can handle the volume twice, that's great. But in the previous heat, we saw that bite, buds and scuds in the back half of the event in round 2. Every athlete will be doing 2 sets of their gymnastics, shuttle runs to couple with it in round 1, row sprints to couple of it with round 2.
Well, Mal O'Brien is out there for the daughters featuring MOB. She's in the pink top and black shorts. But it's the girls who continue to lead here. Now Christine Kohlenbrander is staying ahead.
As she comes down, we'll go into round 2. And of course, you're going to put Raptis on the handstand push-up portion of this event.
Think back to what she did in the Echo Press event back at the CrossFit Games, one of her event wins. The girls in lane 5, they are your leaders. Lanes 9 and 10, that's the AKA Humble Killers and the French girls.
Raptis, nice and vertical, opposite what you see on the right side of your screen. I mean, that's leaning into the wall. That's not really a lockout. That's more of an elbow extension for a handstand push-up.
Well, Carrie Pierce is just ripping through these handstand push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the
Raptis stays in front, and there goes Carrie Pierce. Great to see her back out on the competition floor. Sarah Sigmund's daughter, bottom of your screen, is out there going through the shuttle run, and now Raptis and Pierce, the first two athletes, onto the rower. And then the French girls in lane 10, they're hanging tough here. Here goes Annie Thorsdottir into the rower for the first time.
Ripping on it. Now look at Pierce's handle. That's actually upside down. It makes it a lot harder to pull when it's inverted and up like that. It's really supposed to be flipped where the handles are pointed down. Now, is it a big deal? Not necessarily, but it's not the optimum position to put your hands in to have a stronger pull when those thumbs dip down versus dipping up.
I believe that's Mehdi Grenero for the French girls on the rower next to Carrie Pierce on the left side, and her judge's hand is in the air as Alexis Raptis is off ahead of Carrie Pierce. So Fee Sagafi is out for the Pistols, and that's Ariel Lowen for the AKA Humble Killers. It looks like Alize Andriani for the French girls on now the far right side of your screen.
Fee Sagafi on the left. Now, Carrie Pierce made up time for her team on the handstand push-ups. Not a lot of separation on the row, which is fine. You're not going to get a whole bunch of separation in 240 meters, but Pierce at least cut into that lead coming into the second round of this. So hopefully Lowen can keep pace with Fee, but Fee's cycle rate on the left side of your screen, she has yet to slow down. Now where the trouble may be is getting to the row. There's a give and take. If you're shorter and faster, great for pistols. Not so much for a 240-meter row sprint.
Fee Sagafi has finished up her set of 42. She will be first to the rower as the girls hang on to the lead now. It looks like every team has athletes onto the pistols here in round two, and Ariel Lowen just gimpy to the rower.
Now we've all, no, not to say we've all, they probably have done a row sprint with blown up legs, whether it's air squats, cleans, thrusters, maybe not one leg. It's a unique stimulus coming on here.
There's Sarah Sigmund's daughter in the pink top. Or, no, pardon me, that's Catherine Davis' daughter. Paige Semenza at the bottom of your screen for her team. And Christy Aramo O'Connell now in the black top and purple shorts.
And Jamie Simmons just joined, and two teams we thought would be dominating early. Now here's the balance. This is where the legs get fatigued, but look at this.
Oh, that's Alize Andriani. Just,
they call that that's a send. That's an appropriate full send. Full send approved.
Now Fee Sagafi tagging in Christine Kohlenbrander as the girls are still in the lead. 42 chest to bar pull-ups here.
The question is, how's the grip going to hang on for this last set of 42? Gazan on the right, Kohlenbrander on the left. We saw in the previous heat, Buds and Scuds broke twice in the last 14 reps, which opened the door for Emma McQuaid, who went unbroken and only being separated by maybe 10 reps. She's gonna have to hold on. If she drops one time, did it again, Sean. I'm so sorry,
You haven't
Christine.
got to stop with that.
I'm so sorry. But Gazan, she drops as well, so at least she keeps the door open for Kohlenbrander.
Now Mal O'Brien is starting to creep up here. She has moved her team into third place.
And they were probably fifth or sixth. She lost her rhythm a bit.
Kohlenbrander's off, she's on to the rower.
Kohlenbrander's got about 5-6 seconds.
And now, Gazan and O'Brien getting to the rower at the same time. And the misfits with Lady Bits at the bottom part of your screen. I knew I was not going to get through a whole broadcast without saying that. They are in the battle as well here.
Now Brander had about a 5-second lead on Mal O'Brien. I said it'd be really hard to catch up, but Mal O'Brien is cranking on this rower.
Two former individual games champions, and maybe the next one teaming up here. Mal O'Brien, a popular choice to stand on top of the podium this year at the CrossFit Games, and her judge's hand is in the air. And Mal O'Brien may have pulled off a comeback victory here for her team. We'll see who gets off the rower first. Judge's hand starting to go in the air. Christine Kohlenbrander will be off first. Here comes Mal O'Brien. A win for the girls. The daughters, featuring MOB, are going to finish second. And then the AKA Humble Killers look like they came in third. The Misfits with Lady Bits were also in there just ahead of AKA Humble Killers. And now Brooke Wells is across the finish line along with Amanda Barnhart and Chrissy O'Connell. But Christine Kohlenbrander holds off a hard-charging Mal O'Brien late in that event as the French girls come across. And only 0.2 of a second separate the girls from the daughters. So what a charge from Mal O'Brien.
0.2 of a second separating 42, 42, 42. Times 2 of reps and sprints. I mean, the level of athletes we have in the team competition is so high, it is so elite, as we are going to see this back and forth, this one punch back and forth. I can't wait for the next 5 events, and it's already started in event number 1.
Well, Spacers Angels, the team with Sarah Sigmundsdottir, they're still on the floor as Sigmundsdottir's now just getting into the rower. She's got a minute to go here. Should be able to get inside the time cap.
Well, she had to slow down there, and I don't know if that was a product of maybe the screen not turning on or reading right away, or she's doing the, I know what this is. This is the sprint really hard, rest a little bit, sprint really hard technique. And I'm not even joking, like that's some people do. We see that on the bike a lot too.
And remember, all 3 members of this team competed the last 2 days. There's clearly some fatigue here.
Oh, I mean, what they went through in 2 days, it's not necessarily the volume that was the issue, but the intensity packed into 2 days is where I think a lot of these athletes are feeling it. And so we're looking at teams to look at. We didn't really highlight a lot of teams that had individuals doubling up with the teams because, listen, if you're maxing out your potential here and everyone in their best spot, having 2 days of competition weighing on you is a factor.
And give Victoria Campos credit for stepping in for Emily Rolfe. But the girls are the ones who are your winners. That's the trio of Alexis Raptis-Fils-Agafi and then Christine Kohlenbrander, who's on the right, who saw Mal O'Brien just bearing down on her in a rearview mirror.
Yeah, and Kohlenbrander got her team in the lead after her first round of chest bar pull-ups. And you think 42 pistols in a row is easy? Try again. Those legs went in. And then at the end, Kohlenbrander broke twice, and we thought she was going to get run down by Alex Kazan on the right side, but she broke. But it was actually Mal O'Brien who went unbroken at the end, got to the rower about 5 seconds behind, and was able to pull her team into second. But Kohlenbrander did exactly what she needed to do, is to hold on for that win.
That's our Rain Total Body Fuel replay. 10:31.92 seconds, the winning time from the girls. Mal O'Brien just comes up short in her comeback bid. 10:32.09 seconds for them. The Misfits with Lady Bits, they sneak in third place, followed by the AKA Humble Killers. And then Team Invictus finishes in 5th. Let's go down to the competition floor. Nikki Brazier is with the girls.
Well, first of all, congrats, ladies. We love to watch a race in the end, and when it was you and Mal next to each other on the rower, it was a real question of who was going to be able to push through to the end. So how were you able to get ahead and stay ahead after all that you just went through?
I was just trying to go as hard as I could. I could like kind of hear the announcers, but just trying to keep my pace and trying to go as hard as I can, and it wound up paying off.
We've been talking a lot about the vibe of the team competition, how it's less stress. You guys seem to be having so much fun, or as much fun as you possibly can when you're working out that hard. What is the vibe out here like for you?
Oh my gosh. Every time I come to Wodapalooza, I have the most fun I ever do in competition, and even more this season because right now I've never done team with these girls, and this just kickstarts the weekend, and it's so fun when you get to be with such great friends.
Now, Fee, you just recently moved. Now, Florida is your home, and you're training with a whole bunch of people here at a camp. How has that been for you?
Oh, it's been incredible. I love my family back home, but I have another incredible family here in Naples. My coach, Matt Torres, gets to relax now after Indy, but they make it home, and I'm so blessed.
Congratulations, ladies. Thank you so much.
Well, the women are done with their first event. The men are coming up next. We'll take a quick break. When we return, opening event for the teams of 3 for the men as 2023 Tier Wodapalooza rolls on. And we are set to go. The men kicking things off here with their first event at Flagler Stage on day number 3 here at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. We got Nikki Brazier down on the competition floor. Event number 1 is start fast, finish faster.
I say it's a darn good name for the event after we saw the women do. Round 1, round 2. You got 42 of 3 different gymnastics movements between handstand push-ups, pistols, and chest to bar. Couple that up with a sprint and a row. Put your athletes in the best position for the team. Let's race it out.
Let's check back in with Nikki Brazier down on the competition floor.
Now, we saw it with the women's division, and now be interesting to see if we see it with the men as well. These pistols must be unbroken. All 42 on one leg in the first round, and then all 42 on the next leg in round 2. Now, according to the event organizers, the reasoning behind that is to really spice things up. You probably wouldn't do all of them on one leg in your own gym and everyday training, so they are also testing balance, speed, coordination, all of those things that are going to make it very hard, especially on that shuttle run.
Lane assignments for this opening heat. 13 teams will be out there on the floor. In lane 7, Brazilian's old school Pablo Chalfoun is on this team. He's got a pretty cool story from a couple years ago at the CrossFit Games.
Oh, absolutely. When qualifying out of Brazil, was on the outside looking in and became that representative out of Brazil. But he's also with Anderson Primo, who was one of those Brazilian athletes as an heir apparent to make it to the CrossFit Games as well. So this is a very, I say, an unknown, maybe an underrated team for an event like this.
And Pablo Chalfoun. Chalfoun is going to be the man who starts with those handstand push-ups. He's along with Anderson Primo and Lucas De Rosa.
See how tight that kip is for Chalfoun, and just a little bit of a knee bend, and that's enough to press it out. Most of these guys could probably do 42 strict in a row. Maybe not twice, but on one-off. So that little drive helps that press, and just the speed at which these guys are going to have to do to keep pace with each other. And as we said, in the ingredients is that you have to move as fast as you can, but as clean as you can, because you can either fall off the wall, your hands can spread out, you can trip, you can get a no rep, clean reps over fast reps. At the same time, don't blur the line just to go fast. Do not leave it up to your judge to make the call if it's a good or a bad one.
Look at Pablo Chalfoun there in lane 7 with his technique on the shuttle run, nearly backing into it.
I absolutely love it, because when he gets down to this bottom position, what does this look like? It looks like the starting stance of what you would see in a track event. That 1 foot back, 2 hands down, so he actually puts himself in a really good position to be fast out of the turn versus turning after he passes the line.
He tags off to Anderson Primo, who is now on to the pistols.
For years during the regionals, especially when we had the Latin American region by itself, it's good to have it back, by the way, is that Anderson Primo was one of those athletes who always excelled well leading into regionals and somehow never really put it together at that qualifying stage to get to the CrossFit Games. But this is a very good athlete on this team.
Lane 4, that's the Almonds. That's Jonas Zisler on the pistols for his team. He's out there with Kevin Winkins and Tobias Fox. They're the two gentlemen behind him.
And we saw this on the women's side, is what this shuttle run is going to look like after the 42. Now, if you're just tuning in, it's like, he's not hurt, he's just hurting. There is a difference in having one leg blown up for 42 pistols. Not something a lot of athletes have probably experienced between this, and you can probably see some games athletes maybe watching at home or here live at Bayside. It's like, man, is this something I'm gonna have to start training? Blown up single leg shuttle sprints? I wouldn't leave it off the table, you never know.
Jonas Zisler for the Almonds, and now the lads down in lane 10. Starting to make a charge here. There's Sam Stewart.
Well, on this team, you got Sam Stewart, Michael Smith, and Jamie Heaton.
And Heaton's on the chest to bar pull-ups right now.
Two individuals between Smith and Stewart out of Ireland. The only one that doesn't have any games experience is Heaton. But between Smith and Stewart, these some very good athletes. Meanwhile, in Heat 1, this is the field that we have, right? This team comes out of the qualifier for Wodapalooza. They're actually 17th in the online qualifier. Think about that. You've got two individual games athletes on your team, you get 17th in the qualifier. That's the caliber of athletes we have from top to bottom here in the team competition.
Well, Jamie Heaton has his team in front after completing all 42 of his chest to bar pull-ups unbroken. The Almonds down in lane 4. In the purple top, they are right behind them here in heat number 1.
And this is closing out round number 1. After this shuttle run, we'll work back around to athlete number 1, going back into the 42 handstand push-ups, but instead of coupling with the shuttle run sprint, we have with a 240-meter row to close things out.
Well, now the lads have sent all 3 of their men through. On the left, that's Kevin Winkins for the Almonds. And then on the right, that's Michael Smith for the lads. Your top 2 teams here in the opening heat. First of 3 heats here for the male elite teams. Pablo Chalfoun for Brazilians Old School.
Now look at the differences. There's round 1 Kip that we talked about. It is round 2 Kip. Those knees are bending deep into his chest, and he is using legs to get the handstand push-ups done.
Well, Kevin Winkins has got himself onto the rower for the Almonds. And they are your leaders right now. And now Michael Smith is getting through his. He got hit with a no rep that delayed his departure to the rower.
And he dug deep to try to get to that 42. And a lot of times, that amount of volume, 84 total at maximum intensity, is quite a potent volume of handstand push-ups, whether it's strict or Kip especially. But be able to stay on the wall under fatigue, because you can get to a point where you only have 5 left and you might as well go for it, because you know if you're going to come up the wall anyways, there's a possibility of getting it.
So the Almonds now have Jonas Zisler onto the pistols, and that may have been a no rep.
And what he was trying to do, he's trying to balance without putting his foot down, lost his balance, got a no rep, and now he's putting that foot down just to keep his balance on the speed of those pistols.
You see how hard Michael Smith is laboring on the left side of your screen for the lads. As the Almonds are your leaders right now. Jonas Zisler on the right side of your screen on his set of 42 pistols. And then after this, they're going to bring out Tobias Fox for the chest to bar pull-ups. Now the Polish underdogs in lane 11, they have moved into the top 3 here.
I'll set a bet out there for anyone who can say all 3 of their names on Instagram live without screwing it up.
I believe I'm going to give it a try. Gregor's Mareskevich.
You're a bolder man than I am, Sean. I'll just call him Greg. You're doing a great job. Oh, yeah. There it is. That's the good stuff. Fishing off that 240-meter row sprint on these assault rowers.
It's Jonas Zisler on the left side of your screen who hopped his way to the rower. Sam Stewart now for the lads is getting into the rower. The Almond still your leader on the left side of your screen. The Polish underdogs and Mareskevich on the rower.
Stewart made up a bit of time on the pistol portion that they had lost on the handstand push-ups. I was talking earlier about just a little sprint at the end. It's a short sprint, but it's not an easy one. A 240 all out is a nasty dose of intensity on the rower.
And there goes Zisler across the finish line. And now Tobias Fox for the Almonds is on to the chest to bar pull-ups.
So, you know, most athletes go unbroken in the first round, but that second round is where the fun really starts to see if they can hang on for another 42. I mean, 42 chest bar pull-ups is probably one of the more difficult portions of this on the second round between the handstand push-ups and pistols. I mean, pistols, obviously you get to use the opposite leg, so you don't have that fatigue there, but the grip itself coming into the second round, yeah, they get a break, but 42 is reaching up to a lot of people's probably max unbroken sets for a second round of reps.
Tobias Fox for the Almonds onto the rower. He will be the final man for that team to complete this 240-meter row.
Say for the Almonds coming out of Germany, 22nd out of the online qualifier for Wodapalooza. Kevin Wiggins only having the only athlete with games team experience of the 3.
And Michael Smith on the right side, he's on the rower for the lads. And then the Polish underdogs are there as well. I believe that's Paweł Węgierski for the Polish underdogs. But hand in the air for Tobias Fox, and the Almonds are going to bring home the heat win here. 10:27.96 seconds. And now Smith is out, and the lads are through. 10:39.74. And the Polish underdogs are now done. 10:43.25 seconds. That's conquer, lift heavy often. Devin O'Neill, along with Tony Facchini and Elijah Muhammad, are done.
Definitely a team we'll keep our eye on tomorrow morning when that lift portion comes up.
And now Brazilians old school is done. So Anderon Primo, along with Pablo Chalfun and Lucas DeRosa, finishing up. First of 3 heats for the male elite teams here. And we have about a minute to go now before we hit the time cap. LSKD getting in. It's a team of Johan Van Zyl, Moses Botello, and Henry Carlisle.
CrossFit Shrewsbury will run it out as well.
CrossFit Shrewsbury in, Anthony Vasquez, Corey Lunny, and Trevor James are done. And we have less than 30 to go before we hit the time cap. Tall, dark, and handsome in the Thunder Buddies. The two teams still working. Raphael Sanson, Hans Kohlenberger, and Malachi Bennett.
Just sound like stage names to me, Sean. I'm not gonna tell you what stage, but those two sound like stage names.
And now the Thunder Buddies. Connor Volz was the man on the rower, I believe, for that team, and they will be the only ones that get capped here. But the Almonds are your heat winners, 10:27.96 seconds.
All right, lads, early lead off the bat. Sam Stewart leading the charge after the Pistols, but we came back to the second round of handstand push-ups on the right side of your screen. That's the lads. They were ahead, but they had a no rep at the end. That no rep on the last rep cost them a good amount of time here, and that opened up the door for the Almonds at the bottom part of your screen in the row, which got them ahead just 11 seconds of the lads. They were able to hold on to that lead coming in, and we said it's just about a clean run, start to finish, clean run, and one no rep, one missed rep was that 11-second difference between first and second.
10:27.96 seconds from the Almonds. That is your time to beat with 2 heats remaining here in the opening event for the elite teams. Two heats remain here in the opening event for the male elite teams on day 3 of the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. Thanks for being with us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Chase Ingram and the Sneaky Brazer, who is down on the competition floor. The opening event presented by Trifecta. We're going to start fast and then, in theory, finish faster.
That's the idea, right? Start fast, finish faster if you can, but that row gets a little tough on the second half. Everyone gets to pick their best lane. Handstand push-ups, pistols, or chest-to-bar pull-ups. 2 rounds of that, 420 shuttle run for round 1, 240 row for round 2. Clean reps over fast reps. We've seen this for 5 heats now, Sean, that making sure we don't sacrifice movement for speed. You're always faster when you only have to do 42 reps versus 43 or 45. Don't leave it up to the judge. Keep it a clean run, keep it good reps, but keep the speed up.
Here are your lane assignments. 15 teams will be out on the floor here in heat number 2. The Mayhem Avengers will be in lane number 2. More on them in a second. Also want to keep an eye on team 247. They will be in lane 8. These are the Mayhem Avengers in lane 2.
We got some decent games, athletes experience when it comes into this between Comba, Raquelme, and Coqueron. They have 2 athletes versus individual. Actually, all 3 have made individual competition prior to this, and this is one of those niche events you could see their skill set shine in a team competition setting. 247, we talk games experience. We have Leo Torres, Nick Thomas, and Mitch Wagner, 1 time on the team, 1 time as Indy, as well as Lalo as 1 time on a team as well.
We start with the 42 handstand push-ups, relay style event. The time to beat from heat number 1, the Almonds, at 10 minutes 27.96 seconds.
We touched on how fast this event is going to start when it comes to these handstand push-ups, and it's just a matter of speed and execution, because you can go too fast and maybe fall off the wall. You can see the same thing on pistols. You can fall over, lose your balance. There's 5 to 10 seconds right there. The women's separation at the top 2 times, less than a second. The men in heat 1 alone, only 11 seconds. So clean runs is the name of the game.
We have our first teams out onto the shuttle run, the Mayhem Avengers, the AODX Boys with Feelings, Mexico and Road to Asgard.
Even though they're from Italy, I just had to throw that out there. It's been bugging me all weekend. It's more of a Nordic thing than it is an Italian thing, but we can all do whatever we want these days. Just, you know, for you Marvel fans out there, I got you. I got you.
Somewhere Tommy Marquez is hustling to the competition for it. You can't be Road to Asgard. It's
scratching underneath his collar, wondering what's going on out here.
There's Agustin Riquelme for the Mayhem Avengers. He's onto the pistols. And they are your leaders right now in the heat. Riquelme quickly working his way through the set of 42 reps.
Riquelme out of Argentina. Did individual competition prior to the team competition earlier on Thursday and Friday. Been to the games twice, and so we highlighted this team just because of their skill set. A lot of these athletes on this team are very good at high-intensity gymnastics. And this is an event that highlights that specifically. The only thing that isn't advantageous to maybe a gymnastic athlete is probably the last row. Now, it's short enough to suffer through. You might not lose too much on that row, but we have that run, and we've seen it so far on the women's side in the first heat of men. And I tell you what, Riquelme looks a lot better than most athletes we've seen come off those pistols.
Agustin Riquelme starting to build a lead for the Mayhem Avengers. Second place in lane 5, it's Mexico.
It might be Luis Oscar Mora, I believe, that has taken the pistol leg for Mexico.
There's Agustin Riquelme, who is through, almost through his shuttle run. He had 1 lap left, so that's going to allow Luis Oscar Mora, he's in the purple shirt and the light blue shorts towards the middle of your screen, and to gain a little ground here.
Lost a couple seconds there.
From Mexico onto the chest to bar pull-ups.
Got a no rep. 42 reps is enough. Trying to add some reps to that total is not what you want. You might as well just take a break as opposed to do the work and not get the rep counted.
Looks like Roland Goldbaum, who's on the chest to bar pull-ups for Mexico, and then on the left for the Mayhem Avengers. They continue to lead here.
They held on to the bar the entire time, even with a couple of no reps. So impressive that it keeps that grip the whole time. We still got 42 more coming on the back half.
It's like Piero Goricone, who is on the shuttle run for the Mayhem Avengers. And then right next to them, team training program in lane 1, William Kane, Felix Rader, and Owen Roberts have moved into 3rd place. And now the Mayhem Avengers are on to the back half of this event. On to the handstand push-ups.
The time to beat, Sean, set by Almonds. Their split time was right about 4:29, and they're just right at the same speed. And in a no rep,
Santiago Comba is the athlete on the left side for the Mayhem Avengers on his handstand push-ups, and he has a couple reps left, and he is done.
Man, that was a good, big unbroken set, even with that no rep. And now we're switching from shuttle run to row, 240 meters on this assault rower. Now, you don't have time for that, bro. Let's go. There's no time to strap your feet in. It does help. I will say this, it does help, but how much it helps or hurts, the one thing you probably could have done before it started, it's too late now, is to cinch those up a little bit to slide your feet in so you don't lose that much tension. But the amount of time you would lose on trying to strap in, unhook, and then leave is not worth the time.
I will never forget the time you told me you worked with your athletes at CrossFit Big D just on getting in and out of a rower on transitions.
If they're watching, they're probably like, nope, yeah, we don't need to go through that. And yeah, there was an event at regionals back in 2011 that had a row relay. And we spent an hour teaching our athletes how to get in and out of the rower quickly so that transitions wouldn't take away from the total time of the team.
Santiago Comba is done. Here comes Agustin Riquelme onto the pistols, initially with a no rep. And now he is on track and working through his repetitions. He's the only man out there. The Mayhem Avengers have spent the majority of this event in front. They had a little bit of a push from Mexico, but they have now fallen off the lead pace.
And it's wild to see how far ahead. We haven't seen a single team, both the men and the women, to have this much of a lead going into the second round, but that's about 2 or 3 no reps so far. So the one thing you don't want to do is just to give it back, not based off skill set, but because of range of motion. Another no rep, and we're looking at his depth, getting down to the bottom of that pistol.
On the right side, that is Road to Asgard. Andrea Ferrero has his team in the battle for one of the top 3 spots here in this heat. The time to beat from heat 1 belonged to the Almonds, 10:27.96.
Remember, they were dead even at the halfway point of the Almonds coming into this.
Riquelme into the rower for the Mayhem Avengers.
And what's hard for him, if you look at his feet on the rower, what he was reaching for is, look how loose the left one is versus the right one. That's more of an annoyance than anything. At least he has one tight one, because the reason why you like to strap your feet in when you're going fast is you're actually pulling yourself back into position with the legs. And if you don't have that, it's really hard to bring yourself back in quick. Now, if this was a longer rope, it wouldn't matter as much, but since it is so short, having a strap that's a little loose, but tight enough to be able to pull back. See on the left side of where his right foot is? That's the only leg that actually gets to reach in to help him get back to the front part of the row.
That's team training program that has moved into second, but the Mayhem Avengers are way in front here as Piero Goricone is now on to the chest to bar pull-ups.
It went unbroken, I would say 42. It was actually 44 reps because he got 2 no reps on the first one. God, you know,
he's already up to 2 now.
I gotta stop saying these things. I'm so sorry.
The 3 Wizards down in lane 11. They're starting to creep up as well. There's Phil Muscarella getting to the chest to bar. He's a guy who would pull in double duty this weekend. He also competed as an individual the past couple of days.
And it's not like he did any chest to bars last night in the final event, 75 total. So little grip fatigue coming in, but hanging on the whole time. That's 2 back-to-back unbroken sets of chest to bar pull-ups, even with the no reps.
Piero Goricone is on the row for the Mayhem Avengers, and he has a chance, a really good chance, of tracking down the time from the Almonds to set the new mark to beat heading into the 3rd and final heat, 10:27.96.
And at this pace,
it's the top time.
At this pace for 240, you would think a lot of athletes could probably row sub 130 for 240 meters, regardless of fatigue level. That's about 40 to 45 seconds, depending on your row pace. They got there a bit over a minute to go, so they should be able to hold on to this.
3 minutes left before we hit the time cap, and Wodapalooza is trying to finish up this row, and the Mayhem Avengers are going to have your new time to beat as they get across the finish line in 10 minutes, 9.79 seconds. The three Wizards and Jai Ledua are now battling for second. Phil Muscarella has his judge's hand in the air. That's Frederick Dubé on the rower in the black shirt. Muscarella is done, and he will work his way across the finish line. So the three Wizards conjure up a second place finish in this heat. And now Dubé is off, and he is in. So Jai Ledua will finish third in the heat. The road to Asgard has finished up. 10:57.67 seconds for them. 2 minutes now before we hit the time cap, less than 2 minutes. Training culture is across. And there is Roldan Goldbaum, who is on the rower. But in lane 3, the Butterfly Bandits, they have come across. I think that the AOD X-Boys with Feelings, they also finished up as well, right behind the Butterfly Bandits by a second. And then Mexico was after them, 11:22.58 seconds. They come in. La France de General de Gaulle, they are in. I'd like to apologize to my high school French teachers. Let's take a look at our rain total body fuel replay.
Bottom left, you're going to see that little mistake off the shuttle run. He thought he was done. He had one more lap to go for a down and back. There's a good little mistake. Some bled time there. A no rep on a handstand push-up. He was able to hold on to it the whole time and mess with the rower in round 1. So as fast as they went, they still had a lot of room to go. But once they got ahead at the halfway point, not only were they well ahead of the rest of the field, they were tied with the best time coming in, but nearly beat it by 30 seconds. So the second half of this is where you're going to see the big separation for these teams.
So the Mayhem Avengers, 10:09.79 seconds as they were able to build a lead in the back half of that event. The three Wizards will take second at 10:42.75. Jai Ledua will finish in third, followed by Road to Asgard and then Team Training Program. Rounding out the top 5 with one heat to go here in the opening event for the elite teams of the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza. Packed house here at the Flagler stage at Bayfront Park as we have hit the weekend at the 2023 Tier Wodapalooza, and we've handed things off to the elite teams. Thanks for being with us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. We'll hear from Nikki Brazier in just a second down on the competition floor. Event 1, it's relay style. You got to start fast, and then you got to really try and finish faster.
Well, that's the key. Not necessarily a negative split, but don't lose a lot of time on the back half. Athletes pick the best movement for you. Handstand push-ups, pistols, or chest to bar pull-up. Couple of that with a shuttle run round 1, 240-meter row in round 2. Clean reps over fast one. We've seen mistakes all over the place. This is coming down to seconds, Sean. Seconds are going to determine your top few teams, so you need to have a clean run. Not just that, make sure you're doing it the right way. Do not leave it to a judge to dictate how fast you can actually go.
15 teams will be on the floor here, and a lot of very familiar names will be out there competing, including the defending champions from last year, the boys. They will be in lane 8. Team Panchik will be in lane 4. More on them in a second. They've had some couple of roster changes here. And then the Smith Bros will be keeping an eye on them in lane 12. Let's send it down to Nikki Brazier.
Yeah, some of the big name athletes out here this weekend are doing double duty. We saw several big names like Ricky Garrard, our champion in the individual chapter, and now they are coming back for the teams. Now, I had a chance to catch up with several of them yesterday, and they told me that they're feeling a little more banged up than they thought they would after just a 2-day elite individual competition. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pull out all the stops and shake off that soreness to pull it out for the teams.
Thank you, Nikki. We mentioned that there's some roster changes that have been going on with Team Panchik. Initially, it was Jacob Hepner who was in for Saxon. Well, now Scott has been subbed out for Tudor Magda.
I figured they'd substitute out for another Panchik lookalike, a Cole Sager.
At least shave his head.
At least, yeah, at least look. Listen, young buck, if you're gonna be on this team, you need a buzz cut.
But the defending champions, they are in lane 8. The boys, Noah Olson, Chandler Smith, and Travis Mayer.
I mean, we talked about Asgar earlier, but you think about Helena gets stronger when she's at Asgar. Noah gets stronger when he's here at Bayside.
Well done. And Noah Olson's going to kick things off with these 42 handstand push-ups.
It's always fast in the beginning. We've seen that from all teams and all heats coming up to this point. No rep from Noah Olson, and that's just part of it. These athletes are so good at this movement, and it being so niche is another no rep, is that we said in the ingredients leading up to this. A clean run. You have to be fast, efficient. Don't leave it to the judge to take away reps from you.
And Noah Olson is the first one out on the shuttle run.
So Noah got 2 no reps in the first round, a little stumble at the first turn, so bleeding points, or not points, bleeding seconds a little bit.
And you gotta love Brent Fikowski in the sleeveless flannel for Canadian PB&J. He's on a team with Pat Vellner and Jeffrey Adler.
The official apparel of Canada, flannel.
Well, that's the fun thing about this team competition. We saw some great outfits last year. These guys really do enjoy it. You know, Brent Fikowski and Pat Vellner, 2 guys who pulled double duty, so they're a little worse for the wear coming into this competition. And now Chandler Smith is out on the pistol for the boys. Rich Froning is there as well. Just saw him on the right side of your screen. And this is where you talk about, you know, the all-star game environment of this event.
Well, the team competition at Wodapalooza with the 3 men only and 3 women only was really pioneered here at Bayside all the way like 10, 11 years ago. We usually see that mixed paired, 2 men, 2 women. There was a time where Wodapalooza had to switch from this 3 format to the 4-person format when they became a CrossFit sanctioned event and sending people to the CrossFit Games, and I feel like they lost a bit of their identity on the team side. Now that the system has changed again, they get to go back to what was fun, and that's the 3-and-3. But even more so, there's not a lot riding on the line here. So you see the trash talk, you see the banter. They're all friends, they're all great. And to see them compete against each other, as you said, in an all-star version format is what the fun part is. But make no mistake, it's serious once that beep sounds.
Chandler Smith is out there in the lead along with the boys and the Smith Bros. I'm sorry, Chandler Smith is on the boys. We also have the boys.
Tanner, there's a better event made for Dane Smith, who's leading out for the Smith brothers. You can see him in the center lane in the dark shirt. That guy loves to come out hot. And he's like, oh, you mean it's only 42 and 420?
Perfect.
I'm in.
The Dane Smith has his team in the lead, the Smith brothers.
And the great thing of this, we've always seen so many different combos in the team competition, but the Smith Bros, as Ben Smith takes the lead or takes the handoff for their team, is that has been a staple team here at Wodapalooza.
Well, Ben Smith on the right, the 2015 fittest man on earth, and it's Travis Mayer on the left for the boys. Top two teams right now here in this third and final heat. Time to beat belongs to the Mayhem Avengers, 10 minutes, 9.79 seconds.
I just love Ben Smith always holding it down for the dad hat.
I was just thinking, if there's anybody who can be in a competition and still look like he's in dad mode, it's Ben Smith.
But he also makes it intimidating, because usually it's not the most intimidating piece of apparel, but when it's on Ben Smith out here on the competition floor, it feels a little bit different.
And Travis Mayer will be off first. Ben Smith closely behind him and ditching the hat, probably for aerodynamic purposes here. 7 total laps they need to complete on this shuttle sprint, and they get a rep for every length that they complete. So 1 lap, I mentioned this before, down and back. Bears repeating as we head towards the opening.
Yeah.
Get everybody on the same page there.
Now this is closing out round 1. We'll cycle through this one more time. And instead of the shuttle run, you see the rowers on the right side of the competition floor. There'll be a 240-meter row. I will say, as Pat Vellner in the center lane has actually made up a bit of ground.
The Canadian PB&J now in third place. Smith brothers right with the boys here.
Alex Smith.
No shocker for him on the handstand push-ups.
He's probably annoyed that there's a wall there that he has to put his feet on.
And right now our lead teams are slightly ahead of the pace from the Mayhem Avengers in Heat 2. That's the boys in lane 2.
Need a little bit more of a lockout at the top of that rep. No,
Olsen is doing a shuttle sprint. He's got a row and he's wasting effort here. So we saw that before with the women. So Noah Olsen.
We see that on the women's side as well in one of those first heats, and Noah said clean runs. Couple no reps in round 1. Stutter on the shuttle run. Do a full lap and a half of the run before you get to the row. There's just not enough time for that at the speed of this event.
Well, Zeus and the dogs, they're starting to creep up as well. They're in lane 5.
Well, when you look at rowing, Zeus and the dogs with Gerard, Paulson, and DeLugos, that's a second half built team when it comes to this event. Not so much in the ROM department for the gymnastics, but on the row, much different story.
There's Willie George on your left for Team Go Wad.
And that was one of my favorite teams that were assembled. I even cracked a joke, is that you got a Frenchman, a Russian, and an Australian walk into a bar. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Very unique combination of athletes.
There is Dane Smith on the pistols. As the lead that the boys had opened up is starting to disappear as Dane is catching up with Chandler Smith on this movement.
Well, this is where Dane pulled the team ahead in the first round, and that was without the mistake on the run that Noah just had. Whoa, there it is, Chandler.
And Chandler not making the same mistake as Noah. He gets right to the rower and he will get to work. Now here comes Dane Smith on the right side. And now Jeff Adler in the middle with a little hop, skip, and a jump to the rower as Canadian PB&J sits in third. Here are your top 3 on the screen. Bottom left, it's the Smith brothers, Dane Smith, Canadian PB&J, and the boys. And now Dallin Pepper on the rower.
Keep in mind for PB&J that Vellner made up some time on the first round with the shuttle run on the other two teams. So if it can be close, maybe within 5 seconds, that's enough time as Dane comes off.
Well, Travis Mayer and Ben Smith now head-to-head on the chest bars.
Now Ben went unbroken on the first round. Mayer went unbroken on the first round. I think they may be a little too far behind to catch him if they can hang on.
And here comes Pat Vellner onto the chest bar pull-ups.
Look at that cycle rate for Vellner on the right. Just a touch ahead of Mayer. Now that is his first 10 to 15 reps. It tends to slow down on the last 10 to 15. And it may come down to a 240-meter row sprint to see who's going to take this in. You put Mayer and Ben Smith on the rower together, flip a coin and tell me who finishes first.
They are more or less rep for rep. Travis Mayer got off about a half rep ahead of Ben Smith. Mayer to the rower quickly. Ben Smith to the rower. They are your leaders. It's the boys versus the Smith bros. And now here comes Pat Vellner.
I said Vellner just closed the gap there. I don't know if there's enough time on the row, though.
10:09.79 seconds is the time to beat.
Definitely within reach. These athletes row at a pace. And we said before, these guys can crank a sub 130 for 240 meters. It doesn't matter really what you put out there. That's about 42, 43 seconds for the 240, maybe closer to 40 seconds, and they were ahead of that pace if you just put the times together.
Hand in the air for Pat Vellner's judge, hand in the air for Smith and for Mayer as well. Mayer's done.
Whoa!
And
was that Hopper?
I think that was King BKG and friends that got across just ahead. 9:54.79. Yes. King BK and friends are going to steal the win.
BKG at the end.
And that is probably the most Bjorven Carl Gudmundsson thing ever. Hiding out and then coming across. That's Jason Hopper and the good dudes there talking things over with Con Porter, Tullamore-Quino, and Team Beak and Bjorven Carl Gudmundsson. And I think they're looking for clarification on some stuff to see if they actually did win this event.
Did we do something wrong? Because you said we could go. Is it good? I don't know how that happened because they were way behind. I mean, unless, well, this is entirely possible. I could have totally screwed that up because it's what I do on these things. But the amount of time that we saw that Mayer and Smith had on the row by themselves, and the third one to come in was Vellner. The third one to get to the rower I thought was Vellner. I didn't even see BKG get to the rower.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. There is a lot of discussion going on down there on the floor right here. So we've got quite a few teams finish, meanwhile. And Michigan Made Black is the only team left on the floor. So everyone's going to get in inside that 13-minute time cap. But right now it's King, BK, and friends at 9:54.79 with the winning time. And now Michigan Made Black, they are in, and we'll get this sorted out.
Back to instant replay. Because either that or let's set a timer on the world's fastest 240-meter row. I just don't remember seeing them come in.
And now you can hear Cons, we definitely got it. I mean,
yeah.
But like I said, if that holds, that is the most Bjorven Carl Gudmundsson thing ever.
Yeah,
just
right.
Hiding out in the shadows, and then all of a sudden, bam, he comes across and wins an event.
All right, so this is the end part of the 42 chest to bar pull-ups between Ben Smith and Mayer. Mayer's in white, Ben Smith is in the top in blue. They both finished their pull-ups right about the same time. Hopping up right there is BKG. What we know is that once they finished, so when they're done with this, they get to the rower. And it was Vellner that was in third. So the top four, actually top five, Mayer, Ben Smith. So Mayer's gonna come off. Here comes Ben Smith. You look at the clock, you start it right there.
My name is Rosemary.
The next person to come off the rig, I thought, was Pat Vellner.
There he is.
Here he comes. He's about 6 to 7 seconds behind. Hard to make that up. Now we're 10 seconds, 12, 15. Still waiting. Roman Karenikov, you're gonna tell me you rode faster? Okay, that's all I needed to see.
And now here comes
BKG.
Carl Gudmundsson.
I'm sorry, but no one is gonna out-row Roman Karenikov on this planet. So, classic, we'll wait and see.
Well, this is now all unofficial. We'll get that sorted out. But King, BK, and friends right now have your top time at 9:54.79 seconds. The boys right behind them, followed by the Smith brothers and then Canadian PB&J.
1 second, multiple mistakes. There's your difference maker when we talked about the clean reps going into this.
Let's go down to the competition floor with Nikki Brazier. We're not going to have Nikki as they're getting the competition floor ready. And we're going to head over to Bayside for our next event as we make that transition for a closer look at what is an incredible atmosphere here at this event. Here's Tommy Marquez.
All right, everyone, Tommy here. I'm inside the Tier booth at Wodapalooza. I'm here with Corey Berger, the Director of Functional Fitness for Tier. Corey, tell me first, how did Tier come to be the title sponsor of Wodapalooza?
We had a great time here last year, and there was the opportunity to step in and take over as a title sponsor, the first ever. And we were excited to be able to have that opportunity and really create something special for this community.
Give me a little bit of the vibe that you were going for with the booth, and what are some things that people can expect if they come shopping here? Because I think one of the things about Wodapalooza is the exclusives.
Yeah, absolutely. We first and foremost wanted to give people something new and something fresh, so we created some new designs around the partnership with Wodapalooza, and we really wanted to kind of attack the Miami music vibe, the energy, the lights, the lasers. So our custom Wodapalooza shoes have a really strong representation of that. We brought the Spaceman into play, doing some of the typical CrossFit movements, and we made this sort of concert-themed t-shirt with all of the events of the weekend on there. And so I think it gives the community something new and something fresh, but still very functional, right? And so we just wanted to give them a great shopping experience overall, give them something that they really wanted to engage in, be a part of, and make it big enough that we could have everybody in here at once, from the athletes that we work with to the people that are just here supporting their local gym community. And so far it's been pretty exciting.
I can't be stopped.
Power in CrossFit isn't just some strange alchemy. In truth, it's a formula that works. It's the formula for everything we do, from forging elite fitness to preventing and reversing chronic disease. It's the inputs that give us the outcomes, the results that have revolutionized an industry and changed millions of lives across the world for the better.
Here at Proven, we strive to be the best in every facet. So when we created our gym, we knew we had to have the best for our flooring. We needed flooring that could withstand the hardest training sessions. We needed the flooring to be durable and reliable. Time and time again, Surface Co finds themselves being used at the highest levels of competition. So Proven had no doubt that Surface Co was the floor for us.